Raising Dion is about a single mother raising her superpowered son as her husband dies. She also has to protect him from people and other forces that want to exploit his abilities. The show is based on the short film with the same name. One of the show's executive producers is Michael B. Jordan. You may know him from his notable roles in Just Mercy, Creed, and Black Panther as the complex villain Eric Killmonger. The show was filmed in major parts of Georgia, including certain hospital scenes at Atlanta Technical College Medical Wing. That was one of the parts that stood out, so I thought I'd mention it. The show was released on Netflix on October 4th, 2019, and has many positive reviews and has been renewed for a second season, as it should. Little is known when it will come out due to COVID-19. In the meantime, let's review and refresh our brains on Raising Dion. The show begins with Nicole Warren getting her son Dion ready for school. He runs around and he trips and falls over, and his cereal and milk starts to levitate. Nicole then startles him and he drops it. Nicole remembers her husband as he drives Dion for school. Dion doesn't like living in Atlanta because he hasn't made any friends yet. Dion is able to levitate again, this time with cardboard and waste. Later, Nicole gets fired for being constantly late, which I find stupid because her boss should cut her a little slack for being a single mother and a widow. Even though the show was a work of fiction, it's gotten to part how cruel the city of Atlanta could be. Anyway, Nicole meets up with her friends, offering her a job and get out on a date, but she says no. Back at school, Dion is convinced by one student, Esperanza, to come to the skate park after school. He goes and he tries to attempt the skate tricks and fails until he displays his abilities yet again. This time he makes a massive jump. Nicole finds him angry with him for not being where he's supposed to be at. When Nicole and Dion got home, they see their family friend Pat arguing with Nicole's landlord. Pat takes Dion out to Nicole's dismay, but she takes the time to relax. Nicole has more flashbacks about her husband Mark drowning. Pat shares stories to Dion about his dad as they ate pizza. Later that night, Dion's powers start to react again as he levitates toys, and Nicole witnesses it. Things got out of control and Nicole was hurt. Worried, Dion's powers stopped and caused a lot of damage to their home. Nicole consults her sister, which is a doctor, but she can't find anything wrong with Dion. Nicole tells her sister about Dion's powers, but she doesn't believe her. Jesus, why in the hell would she not believe her sister? Why would she go out of her way to lie to you like that? I get that you are tired and all from saving lives and shit, but when your sister tells you something is wrong, why in the hell do you dismiss it just because it sounded sci-fi than facts for the sake of this show? More on her later. Nicole takes Dion to their cabin by the lake. They take a boat out for fishing. Dion attempts to train by levitating fish. His powers go out of control again and knocks some trees down. Later that night, while Dion was asleep, Nicole finds a phone number in one of Mark's old jackets. It belongs to someone by the name of Charlotte Tuck. Dion goes outside and he calls Nicole that because he sees figures standing out in the rain. Dion can't touch them due to be intangible. One appears besides Nicole and they transfer into Mark, warning them to stay away from the lake. Nicole calls the phone number and leaves a voicemail. She tells Pat, but he tells her not to pursue even further. Nicole tells Dion that he can't go back to school until he controls his powers on command.
He can't do it on command.
The next day, he activates a new power of teleportation while trying to save a squirrel. Meanwhile, Pat tries to locate Charlotte, but he then sees his boss, Suzanne Wu, and wants to propose a research project for the Aurora event, but like any other employee, he is ignored. Nicole takes Dion to a pharmacy, and Dion uses his powers to get a Twix candy bar, but is accused of stealing. Nicole gets a job interview set up by her sister, and they almost didn't see her due to her bringing Dion in the interview. While waiting for his mom at the interview, Dion gets bored and his powers start to act up again. Nicole sees this and then abandons the interview. Pat later informs Nicole that the search for Charlotte went cold after August 12, 2017, the day Mark died. Pat tries to get Charlotte's number, but Nicole cautiously says no again because he asked her earlier. She also tells her not to pop up at her house. The next day, while Dion sees a girl lose her stroller, he teleports and saves it. Then it's the first time Pat seeing Dion's powers. Pat wants Dion to demonstrate his powers. It works, but as usual, he can't do it on command.
He can't do it on command.
Pat wants to train Dion to be a superhero, but Nicole says he wants Dion to control his powers first. Pat wants to bring Dion to Biona to see what he's capable of, but Nicole wasn't having it. Then Pat and Nicole came up with an idea to make her believe that Mark's old watch could help him focus his powers. To try it out, they went to a store and he succeeds by not taking candy by accident. Nicole then lets Dion go back to school, just as long as he keeps that watch. When he goes back to school, his teacher announces a science fair project and groups. but since Dion wasn't there, Esperanza picks him as her partner. At recess, Jonathan, one of Dion's peers, makes Dion's watch disappear. He wouldn't give it back and it angers Dion, and he telepathically slams Jonathan against the wall. The principal sees and he automatically assumes it's Dion. Gee, I wonder why. Nicole intervenes and the truth gets out that Jonathan doesn't know what happened, but Dion gets detention anyway because no black kid gets proven innocent without getting some kind of punishment, am I right? Later, Charlotte returns Nicole's call and asks her to meet. Meanwhile, Pat is making a superhero list of advice to give to Dion. He then goes to ask his boss to work on the Mark's project again, but he's quickly reminded to learn his place. Nicole talks with Charlotte while he's instructed to meet in the woods. Charlotte reveals herself out of nowhere due to her having the power of invisibility. Having learning of Dion's abilities, she tells Nicole about the Aurora event in Iceland long ago that it changed everyone who was there, including Mark. Nicole tells Charlotte that Mark appeared to her and Dion. Frightened, Charlotte says that something in the storm killed Mark as she quickly vanishes away. Later, Nicole tells Pat that she met with Charlotte and told about people who were affected by the event. But Pat says he wasn't affected because he was shielded in a yurt while everybody was outside during the event. Nicole then gets an email from Charlotte with a video with a humanoid creature made of clouds and lightning. In Alabama, a farmer, Walter Mills, has the power to grow plants and revive them. He also has a son named Braden. Put those two in the back of your mind for right now. Back in Atlanta, Nicole shows Pat a picture of the creature and he conveniently gets a migraine. But he won't see a doctor because his job may think he might got that Rona. But the real reason is that his job has a strict health policy. But this show came out in October of 2019. Why in the hell? Oh, never mind. Anyway, Kat, Nicole's sister, drops off Dion's birthday gift because she can't be at the party. Kat then tells Nicole of a job opportunity with a dance studio, but she already has 5 job interviews in the same damn... Never mind. Pat takes Dion to his job at Biona to where he meets Suzanne, and she finds out that he is Mark's son. After the failed job interviews, Nicole gets the job at the dance studio. She then gets a call from a guy named Malik that she promised the dance lessons for exchange for the origin of the video. He states that he's found something. Back at Biona, Dion manages to use his telepathic abilities to get himself and Pat in the restricted area. The alarm triggers, but Dion quickly disarms it. The power is shut down. Dion and Pat use it to escape while everyone's being evacuated. However, this causes a power outage to the entire city. Pat tells Nicole that Biona are tracking people with said superpowers. Dion brings a hermit crab back from Biona lab. Pat doesn't want him to keep it, but Nicole lets him anyway. Back at Alabama, the storm attacks and kills Walter. Several flashbacks happen in the course of the season, so I'll do my best to try to explain them. In 2010, Mark and Pat are at an Aurora event to collect data. Mark tells Pat that he is married Nicole, and even though they only known each other for a few months, but you know how that is. Pat detects the high irradiation but can't contact Mark. 1 year later, Mark attends a dance performance by Nicole at the Fox Theater. He surprises her backstage. Nicole reveals to him that she is pregnant. Mark, unlike most guys, is decided and wants to be the best dad ever. In 2015, while driving, Mark's body becomes intangible and almost had an accident while Dion was in the car. Mark discovers later that he become invisible. Time goes by and Mark starts to push his family away to find more answers about what's happening to him. He discovers later that he can teleport because he was about to miss Dion's birthday. Sometime later, Mark meets with Charlotte and she tells him that the 2 other people with abilities have disappeared. It starts to rain out of nowhere and a humanoid creature appears. It attacks them and it absorbs Mark. Back in the present day, it was a bad day for Dion for his birthday. His mom almost didn't make it. He shuns Esperanza right before she reveals that she's known of his abilities for some time. Later that night, a storm happens and Nicole sees Mark's ghost being pulled away. The next day, Dion told Nicole that he saw something but couldn't make it out what it was. He then later tells Esperanza at school and they dub him the name the Crooked Man. Esperanza wants to deal with the Crooked Man alone, which is the dumbest plan I ever heard. But not being an idiot, Dion tells Nicole about the Crooked Man. Nicole then calls Charlotte to come over. Meanwhile at Biona, Suzanne gets into Pat's ass that he knows more about the Aurora event, but she then promotes him. Pat is brought up to speed that there is a decay spreading throughout the area where the event took place. Charlotte comes over and she says it cannot be stopped. She had given up everyone that she cared about and she is always on the run. Nicole asks Charlotte that if she can train Dion. She agrees, but she asks not to tell anybody who or where she is. The training begins and she tells Dion that she also can generate electricity. She often uses this to keep him in line. I don't think this is the Never mind, I ain't touching that shit again. But they bond more when they talk about Mark. Nicole tells Pat about the Crooked Man and they both go out and have a good time. Pat then kisses Nicole and he leaves in embarrassment. Later that night, Nicole finds Dion's watch and finds an SD card in it. Her and Charlotte view the card and it contains Mark's research. Charlotte wants to contact them all to shed more light. Meanwhile, a drone sent by Suzanne captures footage of Nicole's apartment. Charlotte goes on the road and pulls up to Walter Mill's farm and finds Braden. Pat meets Nicole and wants to apologize for his behavior. Nicole then shows Pat that files that suggest that using a special algorithm at Biona. He then gets another migraine. Later, Pat is with Dion and he asks how Dion healed the fox at Biona several episodes ago. And he wants to be healed himself. Dion attempts, but it takes a toll on him. He seems fine and he heads to class. In science, Dion shares an idea of Esperanza about an idea to stop the Crooked Man. With a device that can stop a storm by cooling the air, Dion begins to fall sick and Nicole wants to go pick him up, but her asshole of a boss tells her to go find someone else. She calls Kat to get Dion to take him home, but she takes him to the hospital. At the hospital, Dion's fever continues to arise. Meanwhile, Charlotte talks with Walter's sister Joan. She tells Charlotte that the storm seems controlled and only was fixated on Walter. She then talks to Braden and he reveals that he has telepathic abilities. He then tells her on what he saw and when his father was killed. He wants to go with her, but Charlotte pulls the hypocritical,
I ain't sticking around raising no damn orphans. I got kids of my own I ain't even bringing up.
Back at the hospital, Dion did not lose control of his powers as of yet, giving Nicole some kind of relief. Nicole tries again to tell Kat about Dion's powers, but she doesn't believe her. Yet again, Dion tries to use his powers to prove to his aunt, but for plot convenience, he can't do it on command.
He can't do it on command.
Pat then tells Nicole that he may be the cause of why Dion is sick. Dion's powers then manifest in front of Kat, and she finally believes Nicole. Kat wants to give Dion's medication, but Pat advised against it because people who were affected by the event's DNA is different. So Kat decided to delete Dion's medical records, but it is caught and reported by her girlfriend. Pat takes Mark's SD card to Biona and opens the files. He finds out that iodine infused will save Dion. He then informs Kat, and she administered it to Dion, saving his life. She was then fired later. The CDC shows up and had Biona agents pose as some of them and take Dion. Nicole storms down to Biona and wants Dion. Suzanne then tells Nicole that Dion was being followed for some time now, and they know about his abilities. She then says that these are microstorms that have been appearing all over the world has something to do with Dion's abilities, but regardless, she's not going to let Dion go. She wants to learn more about Dion, aka experiment on him, but Nicole offers Mark's research in exchange for Dion. Suzanne then agrees. Wow, that was really long and drawn out, but resolved and all in the same episode. Dion is brought home and Kat is waiting for them. She breaks down because her girlfriend gave her up and broke up with her. They notice that Biona is still spying on them. Charlotte returns and tells Nicole what she found. They all agree that it will secretly keep an eye on Dion from here on out. Charlotte continues to look through Mark's data and discovers that several people were killed by the Crooked Man. She advises Nicole to take Dion and go into hiding, but there's no life for a child, even for a superpower one. Later, Pat finds Nicole that she says she's using him as a do boy. The two end up arguing and at least Nicole wants to distance herself from him. However, Pat disagrees and doesn't want to stay away from Dion. Nicole tells Charlotte to keep Pat away from Dion. Pat then waits for them at the house and Charlotte confronts him. Pat then reveals to be the Crooked Man and transforms and kills Charlotte. We go back to a flashback on how he became the Crooked Man. It turns out that Pat was affected by the event because he actually left the Earth and was hit by meteorites. No, not them meteorites. In 2014, the girl he was talking to wanted to break up, but he wouldn't take no for an answer, as you do. But she shows that she has power abilities. This had him transform into the Crooked Man for the first time and kills the girl. Trust me, her name is not important. Please don't cancel me for being sexist. I'm not, I'm just saying. Pat transforms back, but Dion and Nicole are gone. Pat goes around and tries to find her, but no one knows. Even if they did, they wouldn't tell him. But he then reaches through Dion through the reptile repo game, like any other pedophile behavior does when they want to reach out to underage children. But impressionable Dion tells them where they are. Pat finds them and Nicole finds out why he wants Dion. So they get into another argument and he reveals to Cole that he's the Crooked Man, that he needs other people with powers to survive the constant decay from his body. He destroys the cabin and leaves Nicole for dead. When Dion teleported back to his school to apologize to Esperanza for being a jerk in the previous episode, Nicole is not dead. She hurries to the fair and warns Dion. Pat makes it there first and gets Dion to help him heal. Nicole bursts in and reveals to Dion that he is the Crooked Man and he killed his father. Pat transforms and he chases after Dion and Nicole. They meet up with Esperanza and Jonathan to use a device to stop the Crooked Man, but it doesn't work. Biona comes in with an upgraded version of the device, but Pat flicks them away like flies. Dion makes armor and goes out to face his villain. The two begin the fight. Esperanza states that Pat can only see superpower people, so that means someone can sneak up on him like Nicole. Dion is losing the fight even though he can now use his powers on command. But Mark temporarily breaks free from his captivity and stuns the Crooked Man. Nicole wraps the chain around the fire hydrant and puts a pole through him. Dion uses his powers, combined with Nicole's efforts, and the Crooked Man is destroyed. Mark's ghost appears again. He hugs his family but warns him that the Crooked Man may not be gone forever. He then vanishes. Nicole is determined that she will protect Dion at any cost. Back in Alabama, the Crooked Man has survived and taken over Brady's body and killed his aunt, and he heads for Atlanta. Raising Dion is not your average superhero show. I hate to say it, but it looks like the adults are overshadowing Dion and his development. I mean, there are interesting scenes with the adult characters, but I want to know more about Dion. Maybe when season 2 premieres, at least when he's 10 years old or something like that, he can come to his own as a hero and defeat the Crooked Man for good. Nicole is what you call a widowed single mother that's been treated less than fair. One of her previous bosses fired her because she was late due to, having to take care of her son and grieve of a lost husband. And her friends and coworkers later try to fix her up with men only after a year with Mark being dead. Her own sister didn't want to believe her about Dion's powers and think that she's crazy. Sure, she came around. If it was my brother or sister telling me that their child has superpowers, I'd be the first to ask what his abilities are while containing my excitement. All I'm saying is that Nicole is doing way better than most single mothers would do in Atlanta. Pat, while having good intentions and wanted to have been healed and his life saved, just went the wrong way about it, like killing other people. Then this show depicts on what women don't want these days in a man. Like the girl that he killed broke up with him because he was too needy and emotional, which vexes me because women go on and on about having a sensitive and caring man, but when they get it, they can't handle it. But I will say Pat was wrong to pull a Kodak Black, giving Nicole a year to get over Mark and then pursue her, which I thought was pretty bad for his character. In the end, he was defeated by Dion, and it won't be likely that he'll be seen again since the Crooked Man possessed Braden. Dion, in certain aspects of his life, is every kid's dream to have superpowers, but also with that power, people will try to exploit it or try to take it from you. Half the time, Dion knows what to do, but he often gets ahead of himself and often gets himself into trouble. Dion can often be a jerk to his friends, but in the end, he learns his lessons and apologizes. By the end of the season, he didn't do too bad by stopping the villain from killing innocent people. Hopefully the next season will be more development for Dion and have more focus on him too. But I hope you all like the review and hear my added jokes instead of just sounding like a verbatim robot. Thank you guys for watching this video. This video was also a request from Terriana Evans. She left a suggestion in the comments in one of my previous videos. If you want to request a movie, TV show, anime, or special video idea, please don't hesitate to comment below. No, I won't ask for no money or anything like that. Just request it now and pull it in my schedule as soon as possible. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.